Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with a story in which a temp receptionist finds herself at the mercy of a relentless caller who disrupts her work with constant yelling and unreasonable demands. But when she uncovers the caller's identity, she uses her wit and professionalism to turn the tables. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. How I finally shut down the office bully who yelled at me daily. I worked as a temporary employee with the hopes of securing a job. I was directed to a brokerage firm by my agency located in a posh neighborhood of town. Imagine Mercedes-Benzes and Porsches in the driveways. I worked as a receptionist anyway. Despite being quite busy with several meetings and receiving calls, my employer was a decent person. During the early days of my employment there, I would frequently receive a daily call from a woman whose number I did not recognize, which went like this. My response, "Hello, name of brokerage, how may I help you?" Her, "Right now, get me," the boss's name, "on the phone." Panicked and agitated, I said, I'm sorry, she's in a meeting. She said, "I don't care if she's in a meeting, call her right away." During a severe panic episode, I said, "I'll see what I can do." My boss is in a conference with others. When I check on her, there are numerous suits and documents on the conference table. I pick up the phone again. "I'm sorry, she's still meeting with her." "I don't give a damn. Now get on the phone with boss's name right now." My response, "May I take a message and tell her who called?" She said, "You are not allowed to answer the phone or let her know who called. Right away, get her on the phone." Then, in a full-blown panic, I would interrupt my boss's meeting, tell her about the obstinate, angry caller, and she would pause it to answer the phone. The boss would say, "That's just Lynn, an office manager from the name of a nearby city branch." After I had these situations a few times, simply take a message the next time she phones. I was the only one who didn't know Lynn's number. The yelling would go on, and I would keep disrupting meetings with my supervisor. My manager would say, "Next time, just take a message," and dismiss it when I informed her about how angry the screamer was. I couldn't blame my employer after seeing how much work she had on her plate, and I wanted to be a good worker, so I endured the stress because that's what good workers did, right? Lynn was quite different from her phone demeanor when she finally showed up in person. She wore subdued colors, kept her head down, avoided eye contact, and said hi, talked in low tones, and was very timid around other office workers. This confused me, since I couldn't understand why she aimed her anger at me over the phone or why she refused to speak to me in person, when I subsequently realized that she was the one who was loud, angry, and disrespectful to me on the phone. After having to contact Lynn's office every other day for 3 weeks and occasionally calling Lynn directly while listening to her chat, I was able to match Lynn's voice to her direct number. I can now identify the person who yelled at me. However, I kept the fact that I knew her identity and her direct line a secret from Lynn. I kept putting on a front when I called Lynn saying, "I'm sorry, I'm just the temp, with whom am I speaking?" So one day near the end of my assignment, I got another call from Lynn, and I was prepared this time. My response, "Hello, name of brokerage, how can I help you?" Lynn, "As soon as possible, get me the boss's name on the phone." Me, "She's in a meeting right now, would you?" Lynn, "Put her on the phone right away, regardless of whether she's in a meeting." Me, "She requested that I answer her texts. Could you please tell me who you are?" Lynn, "No, you can't ask me my nature. Always set her up on the phone." Me, "And may I ask the reason for your call?" Lynn, "No, quit wasting my time and put her on the phone." Me, "May I have your number for her to call you back?" Lynn, "No, put her on the phone, I said." I'm enjoying the moment as I reveal the secret. So Lynn, you want me to interrupt name of boss's meeting. When she asks why, I'll have to explain that she didn't want to leave a message and wouldn't give me a callback number? Lynn, is that what I'll have to tell her? Lynn, "No." A total 180-degree shift in Lynn's tone and manner. Me, "Shall I leave name of boss a message and tell her you called, Lynn?" Lynn, "Yeah." My response, "Very good, Lynn. I'm going to end the call now." Boom. The objective was destroyed and the bomb dropped. By the end of my stay, Lynn was at least friendly over the phone and had stopped yelling at me. Oh, sweet justice. The office phone tyrant finally got served her own dose of humility. It's fascinating how someone can be so overbearing on the phone and then a total wallflower in person. Like her power only existed in a dial tone. Honestly, your patience deserves a medal because dealing with that level of unnecessary aggression for weeks must have been exhausting. You handled it like a pro, though, turning the tables with grace and just the right amount of sass. I'd have relished that moment too, especially watching her deflate like a punctured balloon. Lynn clearly underestimated you. And our second story. The person sitting next to me repeatedly invaded my personal space. Because I enjoy looking out of windows, I was flying in the window seat. To close the window shade, the woman seated next to me repeatedly reached in front of me. She simply reached in front of me to close the shade without asking. She would reach in front of me once more to close it after a few minutes, and I would instantly reopen it. There was no need for darkness in the middle of the day because it was a domestic short-haul trip at midday, and there's no justification whatsoever for repeatedly invading my personal space without my consent, acknowledgement, or any kind of human decency. Even though there was plenty of natural light coming in through the open window, I still took out my book and switched on the reading light. I then placed my hand so that the reading light from my watch would shine straight into her eyes. For an hour, I read in that manner while jiggling my hand to cause the light to bounce off her eyes, which was really uncomfortable and distracting. After we touched down and she removed her headphones, I turned to face her and advised her to reserve a window seat the next time she flew so she could manage the window. Or at the very least, be human and ask before invading my personal space. What you did was incredibly impolite. She seems really offended. She walked at 2 miles per hour, of course. As a city walker, I had no trouble passing her, and as soon as we were on the moving walkway, I stopped right in front of her before flipping her off the entire way to my ride. I did the same on the escalator to the curb. Edit. Just to clarify, I was gently flicking her off by holding the handle of my purse upside down and giving her the middle finger. You would only have noticed if you were staring at my hand. I wasn't only putting my hand to her face, it was a tactful method for me to express my rage and let it out of my system. Oh, the audacity. Imagine repeatedly invading someone's space like it's a given right, completely uncalled for. The passenger clearly lacked any sense of respect. The watch reflection move? That was a touch of genius-level passive aggressiveness, irritating, yet completely within your own space. Honestly, I'd have done the same. As for the post-landing slow walker revenge, the subtle flipping off move takes the cake. Your handling of the situation was creative and, let's be honest, a bit cathartic. Hopefully, she learned something about boundaries. And our last story. When my neighbor's party blocked my driveway, I called in the cavalry, tow trucks and all. Friday nights in rural Virginia can get pretty wild, but I usually don't mind when my neighbors throw a loud party as long as it doesn't get too out of hand. This weekend, however, I was on call for the state police towing rotation. Being on call means I have just 25 minutes to respond to any incident, whether it's a DUI, a wreck, or an impound request. Timing is critical. By the time evening rolled around, my neighbor's party was in full swing. I'd noticed some extra cars earlier and even walked over to politely ask them to keep the road clear and not block my driveway, explaining I was on call. My neighbor nodded and gave a vague assurance, but I had a sinking feeling it wouldn't stick. Sure enough, just after midnight, I got a call from my boss asking me to warm up the heavy-duty rotator and flatbed tow trucks. I geared up and headed to my car, but as I tried to back out, I realized I was boxed in. There wasn't just one car blocking my driveway, there were at least 15 vehicles parked haphazardly along the road and in front of my property. I hiked over to my neighbor's place, dodging drunk teenagers and searching for the host. When I finally found her, I explained the situation again, this time with more urgency. She rolled her eyes and slurred something about relaxing because it's a party. Then she half-heartedly yelled into the house for people to move their cars before slamming the door in my face. As I turned to leave, a rowdy guy outside threw a beer at me, shouting, "Yeah, go on and leave, crybaby." That was it. I was done playing nice. I called my company dispatch and requested every truck available, which was about 10 rigs that night. I also called the local police requesting an officer to stand by in case things got heated. Within minutes, my team arrived and got to work towing vehicles one by one. We documented everything with photos, clear shots of the no parking signs, and the blocked driveway. By the time we got down to the last 3 vehicles, chaos ensued. One driver bolted to his car and sped off, narrowly avoiding a tow. Another, a girl in a gold Silverado, tried to drive away but got stuck, tearing up my lawn in the process. The officer on site quickly arrested her for DUI and underage drinking. The owner of the last vehicle, an old Ford, never showed up, so we towed it away as well. By the end of the night, every illegally parked car was at the impound yard. I treated my team to coffee and snacks as a thank you for their quick response. Since the next day wasn't a business day, anyone wanting their car back would have to pay the standard $289.50 towing fee, plus $55 per day in storage, and a $100 after-hours gate fee. I made sure to include a special note on every storage receipt thanking the party host for their help in arranging the tows. The next morning, the fallout began. Parents of the teenagers started calling, furious about the impounds and threatening legal action. I calmly explained that their kids had ignored posted no parking signs and blocked access to my property, and I had photo evidence to back it up. I also mentioned that I had tried to resolve the issue politely before resorting to towing, but the host had refused to cooperate. By the end of it, my driveway was clear, my lawn was quiet, and my phone was blowing up with apologies and excuses. Moral of the story? Don't mess with a tow truck driver, especially when she's got the law and a team of trucks on her side. Calling in every truck you had and systematically clearing out those cars is the kind of no-nonsense move I wish I could have witnessed. The cherry on top was the underage driver tearing up your lawn, getting arrested, and turning the situation from inconvenient to downright poetic. And those parents complaining about impound fees? Priceless. Maybe next time they'll teach their kids some parking manners. You handled this beautifully, and probably ensured there won't be another block the tow driver's driveway party anytime soon. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.